hot and humid, and some rain to come in Brisbane. Sorry I haven't been on much, guys. This is just a recording. If anyone joins, I won't be really interacting too much. Just going to have a chat and say hello. Been really busy at the household, lots of work to do, and been flat out in the run to Christmas with my job, and getting everything sorted before I have a couple of weeks off, which I'm sure I will do some lives over that, after the 21st of December and a couple of weeks after Christmas before I go back to work. So I've given no notice about this, about anyone saying that I'm going live. I've just thought I've got some time now. I've got about an hour's drive, so I thought I'd jump on and have a chat about some of the stuff that's happened. So yes, thanks to everyone who's continued to support the channel, and really appreciate it. We'll go into bigger, better things next year. But there's a fair bit that's been happening. Obviously, we didn't get Ben Hunt, which is exactly what I thought. He didn't demonstrate, in my opinion, what I call club first values. And club first values are very, very important to this club. Hence why we have let go of Josh Adokar. A bit of a conundrum if we're looking at the top 30, so I want to talk a little bit about that. We've got what appears to be 31 players in trying to fit into 30, and then if we get the acquisition of young Pulu from the Titans, which I can't believe he's become available. That's one of the all-time grubby stuff-ups by the Titans, and makes me dislike their organisation. Although I do like going to the Bulldogs games at the Gold Coast. I find it to be a nice day out, and the crowds aren't too bad. There's crap. Brisbane crowd are a lot worse, I find. But anyway, back to the story. So we've obviously let go of young Jordan Sabrani and Joash Papali. Jordan Sabrani's in the Eels training trial. Same with Chris Patalo at Manly. Not sure if Joash is on development or if he's got a top 30 spot. So hopefully for him, he's got top 30. Unfortunately, Jordan had a few too many injuries. And I haven't seen... There's a couple of players that I haven't seen around, which were on the verge. So I've heard a couple have left. It's been official that young Mason Phillips has signed with St George, although we knew that ages ago. And young Seve. So the older brother, he's in our development squad, and we may see him get picked in first grade at some point this year. Apparently 124 kilos according to the web. So, and to me looks like he's someone, if you're looking at a big forward, you're going to develop him with skill and footwork and size and can put on a hit. This young fella's got it all. I'm telling you, this fella could be playing first grade at some point. Jack Todd, officially announced by Phil Gould to be in the top 30. And I'm expecting Harry Hayes, who's been, we're seeing him everywhere on the training videos, etc. Expect him to be named top 30, which means someone has to drop out. And I'm not sure who that will be. It is a little bit confusing because you've got players like Gideon Katonga, who's due back after, because he played for Fiji, so he's got to have a rest. So I've heard some murmurs about him, and that sort of only makes sense to me in my own head because of what happened in that Melbourne game. I'll never forget that. But I also believe he did pay his dues, and when he went back to reserve grade, he really ripped in. especially with the ball, and he hurt some blokes without it. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with Gideon. We seem pretty stacked on those edges. We've got Villiam, Preston, Satilli, Josh Curran can play the edges. And there's plenty coming through in the train and trial, like Luke Smith and young, I forgot his name, but he was the SG Ball Player of the Year. So there's quite a bit of depth there coming through at some point, and hopefully we've had a few players selected in internationals or to play Origin and that sort of thing. And that's always the most likely thing, but hopefully we go on a right and give some players a rest and give it a well-earned debut to a player like Jack Todd. But the younger Seve, the captain of the Harold Matts team this year, I think he believes, and looks like a really good prospect. But young Seve, sorry, I don't have their first names in front of me, and it's hard for me to remember. I don't want to pronounce them wrong. So it's looking like the Roosters are going to sign him, and that's the type of signing they like to get. And they'll develop him in their system, and he will be a player that will be hard to handle, you would think. And you'd expect he'll play Jersey flag this year for SG Ball and Jersey flag for the Roosters, before potentially getting a start in Cup or first grade in the next couple of years. I'm sorry if this times. Feel free to say hello if you wish. G'day Timmy, and g'day Big. G'day Taylor. Hope you're good. Hope you're well. Can't really see. G'day Spider. How are you going? All right. So, talking about, I'm going to do an NRL media watch, and I've started collating all of the reports of Bulldogs being the favourites to sign. So we're the favourites for Pappenhausen, we're the favourites 3 times for Ben Hunt, we're the favourites for Jerome Luai at one point. We were named favourite at one point for Mitchell Moses. We'll name favourite obviously for Leo Thompson twice already. We were the favourite to get Spencer Leniu. We're the favourite to get, I already said Ryan Pappenhausen, did I? There's other players as well, Adam Fanua-Blake and many others. So the only player signed in our last 20 or so. So the only difference was that their club was either letting them go, or their own club was potentially going to keep them. That's it. And whilst we've been linked to other clubs, we've successfully helped those players get more money from other clubs. We've put a market value in there. We've looked at what that player under us and whether we're in the market. And if we weren't in the market, we pull out of the race. But it just goes to show you, like, how many times can the media expect us to believe what they've got to say? And I sort of want to speak a little bit to the fans that keep losing their shit, like we're missing out on players, like we're not a desirable place. Like, there is part of that. Not everyone, Canterbury Bankstown isn't for everyone. The Bulldogs aren't for everyone. Where the community has a lot of access to you, you have high expectations, and you sort of, there's nowhere to hide sort of thing. You know, that's what you got to take on with Canterbury, and it's a family club. And we've got Phil Gould there, and we're not going to pay players just to come and take our money anymore. Now, because if they do, if they show any signs of us taking the money, the club's quite happy to move them on and give a young fella a go. So there seems to be this rhetoric every time we lose a young player, or every time we miss out on the so-called front rower that we need, which I've been guilty of believing we need another front rower. Through a spanner in the works, and it'll be interesting to see whether we continue along that route. You know, I think that we have a bunch of players there that are... If I'm a young fella at our club and I'm on the verge, and I'm doing the right stuff, and, you know, and things are happening, I'm inspired by the fact that our club has said, nah, we don't want Adam Fanua-Blake. We don't want Stefano Otikamanu. You know, we don't want these players. We don't want Ben Hunt unless it's 550, which in my opinion will just help him create a market value so he could get a reduced deal. Part of me believes that. You know, we're saying to these young kids, we've got money in our cap. We want to give it to you. You've just got to come fight for it. You've got to come earn it. We're not just going to hand it. We're just not going to hand, you know, $4 million over the next 4 years for a payday. We'd rather 2 or 3 of you guys develop, forced to give you a bit more money and give you a start and give you a go with the Bulldogs. And that's how I think it's going. That's how I believe. Well, that's what's turning out to be the case. So it comes down to, what are the trends? We've got fans sitting there losing their shit saying that we're missing out on all these big signings. All these fantasies that they're having. And I get it, because we all do the same thing. We write down our top 30s and we think about who's going to play where and what's our best team going to look like, and we form opinions based on what we hear and what we see. And, you know, I get all that. And then we look at players that could make our team better, and then when we're linked to them, I understand the disappointment and the frustration, but what I want people to see is there's a trend with our club. We are targeting the players that we want to get, right? We're targeting the players that we want. And I've got to trust that, because you look at a player like Jacob Preston, right? Target that no one was talking about, but the Gus Gould and all that knew what they had under their bonnet. Sam Hughes, a mid-season transfer from the Parramatta Eels. Cronulla Sharks Junior. Back rower turned into a prop. Comes across, looks pretty good in New South Wales Cup off the bench for about 4 or 5 games. And the Dogs were there with open arms. And the guy is just... And he's been our best prop over that time. Like... We have to trust what this club is doing and follow the trend lines. The trends are that we go for the players we want, and any player that we're linked to is basically other teams involved. We haven't got any of those signings, and I honestly believe there were only 2 players that they were prepared to sign out of that whole bunch, where they actually made offers to them. And they are more of a case of trying to separate, you know, he didn't want to go to the Bulldog. He didn't want to, I was probably, and that's what I think, but I may not. Spencer Lane, they had him across the line. Necessary minutes, the way that he plays, better for having him in the side. But anyway, Spencer, we didn't get Jerome. In part of me, he's like, that's for the best. And this is what I want people to understand. If you don't want to be a Bulldog, we don't want you. Right? And it's easy to say that in hindsight, but it's the truth. If you don't want to be a Bulldog, you're not a Bulldog. You know, there's enough players in our club, in our juniors, that are getting told, big player, sorry if it just cut out there for a bit. But, you know, they talk about a player who's given everything they've got For in his opinion, they need to go and find a day job. You'll notice have not, sorry if it's cut out, it'll cut out a few times, guys, just bear with it. But you'll notice there'll be a few players who'll be like, oh, where'd this player go? And they're no longer with the club, and they might pop up somewhere else, or they might have just stopped playing rugby league for a bit. I know of a couple, I'm not going to mention their names, purely because, it'll all come out eventually, but there's a couple there that we had high hopes for that are no longer Bulldogs, and I'm not even sure if they're going to continue playing rugby league. But probably the big burning question is who is going to drop out of the top 30, because as I said, 31 doesn't fit into 30. If we do get this kid from the Titans, and the Titans should just let him go. Like, seriously, if you're going to stop a kid from earning an extra 40 grand who's served your club the whole season and busted his ass, and they started playing some alright football with a young guy like this holding up the middle and playing minutes off the bench, he deserved that money. And they should have given it to him. You don't sit there and rest him in the last game when he's not injured just to save yourself 40 grand. Like, I get rugby league's a business and that, but if it's that fucking dire, that's just bullshit in my opinion. Absolute bullshit. The Titans have fucked that up big time, because he's got a future, that kid. And hopefully it's with the Bulldogs for 2025, but if not, he'll come in 2026, because he said he won't be signing with the Titans again. They go and sign RCG when they've got a player like that. But isn't that typical of us? We'll link to RCG as well, not heavily, I must say, but Titans go and buy another, 800 grand to $1 million prop when they've already got 2 or 3 forwards on north of 900 grand, right? And they go get another one. And what do? We get the young up-and-comer. That's who we're looking at. So that's good for us, right? But who drops out of the top 30? Now, people are going to come out and say, look, I don't like people hanging shit on players, but they'll say, oh, get rid of Hutchison, or get rid of Salmon, or get rid of Turpin. Just get rid of them like they're slaves. Like their lives are worthless. And I'm not being overly dramatic here either. I'm just like saying, trust the club to know who those players. Top 30. I've been at the trainings or have seen any of the highlights of training. The players I haven't seen, obviously, I've definitely seen Jamin Salmon have to get Drew Hutchison. Honestly, I think Drew will have a good future as someone, running water and training and coaching. Because honestly, I watch his talk. He's definitely someone who could probably coach. He just physically struggles to be where he needs to be sometimes, and especially in attack. And we all saw that really play out bad towards the end of the season, unfortunately for him. So I wonder if he's one that will make way, because I also look at our halves depth for next year. We've got Cassius Tia in the train and trial, available from round 10, and he is definitely a very good prospect. Joey O'Neill was in that position last year, and Joey will be now in our development squad with the opportunity to move into the top 30 in coming years. Mitch Woods has already been elevated to the top 30. Bailey Haywood's in the top 30 this year. And he'll be off contract. He's off contract now, which is interesting. So clubs can speak to him for 2026. So there's a lot of movement to have. These kids can all play half. And there's a couple of others as well that are really good halves prospects. So we have to look at what's going to happen in the future. Jack Underhill's one he's not in the development. I think actually he is in development this year. No, and I think he'll move to development next year or the year after. But I'm sure we'll see Underhill potentially play Jersey Flag again, and also play New South Wales Cup. We'll see Jack Todd playing New South Wales Cup, one would expect, unless he's able to force his way into the side through the pre-season. And, you know, I think, like, Serraldo knows pretty much the makeup of his side and how it's going to fall, you know. But there's always that surprise packet who comes through. We've got to see what happens with, obviously, Tom Amone from the Super League. He's coming in. We've heard a bit about him. But for me, I'm a bit stressed that Daniel Saluka Fafita may not be at the club. Like, I honestly don't know. This is just looking at things and going, who are we losing? Because I look at him with his size, with what he can do with the ball, and just hoping that he can, you know, start to play long minutes without the ball as well, and tidy up that middle. And I think that was definitely something he'd be able to do in the long run. So I hope he's one that not many people talk about, but I have really high hopes for at the Bulldogs, and that may not eventuate. If it doesn't eventuate, we trust the club and believe that he didn't want to be a Bulldog or something wasn't right. But hopefully that's just all speculation on my part, and he's just ticking along nicely, ready to advance his case for a starting position for round one. That's what I hope. He's come back from a really bad injury, and when they do that, it does take them a while to get cranking again. Thanks to everyone who's said hello so far. I can't interact too much, purely because I'm driving. But you know, Nunn signings are Gus specially pulls up a list of all players they were to sign and tells the players, we didn't sign these blokes because we have faith in you. Oh, that's you, Paulie. G'day, mate. Well, that's what I hope they do. So look, the Dogs have got a good draw for next year. No draw is easy, but we're not travelling as far as we have in recent years. We get some nice periods at home. We get some nice little away trips, which we get to sort of do in little blocks. Have a tough run home, a potential tough run home on the way home. I think we play the Roosters, the Storm, and the Panthers in successive weeks. So yeah, lots to do there. So yeah, guys, it's thanks, Timothy. I'll read all the messages once I share the live later on. Sorry, just so yeah, guys, just thinking about the footy. Christmas is coming, winter is coming, and we want to see the Bulldogs do really well next year, and I think they'll have a lot of chances to do so. But again, the top 30s of every club are looking rather equal. Like the best 17s for each team could very much compete across the board and beat each other, and that's well, it doesn't pan out that way often in rugby league. There's often been one or two standouts with a surprise team, and then your few that are sort of battling around the middle of the top 8, and then you've got the lottery of the of, everywhere from 15th through to 7th and 8th position. Can come down to a few bad decisions or a few bad calls or a tough run home or whatever it is. Some injuries. But hopefully the Bulldogs are able to keep that winning feeling going, win more games than they lose. And the tough thing is going back and, beating the Eels twice. Or, and beating the Sharks again, and beating the Eagles, beating the Dragons, the Titans, all these sort of sides. The Knights again. We dominated. We beat the Warriors twice in tough games. We beat the Sharks. We couldn't beat the Cowboys in 2 matches. Couldn't beat the Seagulls in 2 matches, one being a semi-final. So we've got to beat all these sides. And then we come up against the powerhouses. I think we can compete with all of them. I expect West Tigers will improve as well. They've got a very good 17. I like the makeup of their team. But can they implement their strategy? Do they believe in who they are and what they do? Because one thing I'll tell you about our Bulldogs is we seem to believe in who we are. We seem to have forged a bit of an identity, and they need to back that up. They might be outplayed on a day, but they will not be outworked, and that is something we can all be proud of. And to build that, though, doesn't just happen in one season. It takes time, and people have to understand that. We've been sick of waiting. I get that. We're all impatient. We want the ascension to continue, the rise to continue until we're winning premierships again. No one is hiding from that. There's no mediocrity here. But understanding that you can get that little bump and then you can have a little drop and then have that incline until you get what the Panthers have, where I don't see them missing finals for 10 years, looking at their system and the way that they all believe in it. And that's what we have to get to. I was reading this thing, though, that I think it was Fox did the article, the premiership windows. What a load of fucking shit that was. Like, when they don't understand what each team has in its stocks, going down to 15 and 14-year-olds, there's no way they can sit there and talk about windows. I don't mind it from, are you in a premiership window for this year and next year? But beyond that, it's all just the most bullshit commentary you'll ever hear in your life. Premiership window in 28. Well, how the hell do you know? 2 players, you might have 2 great players that break their fucking leg and then you don't have a premiership window anymore. It's too far ahead. That's why it was so hard for Canterbury with this rebuild, because we kept talking about 2022. Oh, in 2022 we'll have a war chest to be able to buy our way out of it. Well, we couldn't, because our juniors, the whole system in relation to players debuting for the club through the juniors was all fucked up. And they've nearly got that right now, and they've got the bottleneck of talent to bring through. But for them to say our premiership window is between now and 2027, to me, the premiership window, if you're looking at it for the Bulldogs, only opens up in 2026, 27. That's when it starts. And for me, the premiership window, with what the club's doing and what it's aiming for, and the way they're going about business, is we're going to become one of those clubs where you go, I don't see the Bulldogs dropping out of the top 8 or top 4 for a long time. And that's what we want to be. That's where we're heading. None of this, we can win the premiership next year. We've got the draw to compete hard and do well. So, I wouldn't be surprised if we make top 4. I'd also wouldn't be surprised if we struggle to make the 8. As long as Every game you watch that team work hard, perform hard. You know, so many people have so many different opinions, and a lot of opinions which are factually wrong or aren't backed up by statistics or feel. You know, I was listening, Joey from the supporters group does a good job there, good friend of us. He put up the hookers for Canterbury, and Reid Marnie was an article. I'm like, everyone started going to town on Reid. People were saying, the only thing I can agree with is his discipline and his impatience at times can be costly. It can. Sometimes it works out great. That's what he has to keep improving on, definitely. But when people start saying he's got nothing in attack, he's predictable in attack because he tackles too much. Well, obviously, if you make a lot of tackles, it will stifle your attack a bit. But statistically, he was got the most try assists, was the most influential hooker in the competition last year for points scored. And then someone said, oh, he doesn't have a kicking game. I'm like, what are you talking about? His kicking game was part of our success last year. The fact that it was less rushed, he went for less 40-20s and went more for just placement for field position. He wasn't pushing the envelope, trying to kick the lever off the footy to get that 40-20, which obviously sometimes would result in a really terrible kick. Either going too long, going dead, missed timing it, going out in the full, or whatever it was. And sometimes it was at times where we just needed to grind for a little bit. And he wanted to turn the game on a big play or a big moment. So Reid's obviously got some areas of development, but part of what his weaknesses are also part of what makes him great. And, you know, I found that with Michael Ennis as well. His discipline sometimes was costly. But for the most part, you rallied behind him and you followed him because he was an absolute terrier in there. And that's what you want to see from Reid Marnie. Anyway, guys, I thought I'd just jump on and talk a little bit about some stuff. I want to do an NRL media watch and just focus on these idiots who continue to write these articles saying the Canterbury are the favourites or in the pole position. Like, eventually we'll sign a player which is being chased by other clubs. You know, is Leo Thompson going to be that player? Many are hoping so, but if he doesn't join Canterbury, it means he doesn't want to be a Bulldog. It's as simple as that. You either want to be a Bulldog or you don't. If you sign with us, you want to be a Bulldog. If you don't sign with us, you don't. And if you don't want to be a Bulldog, we don't want you. I can't say it any more simpler than that. So for all these people throwing their hands in the air, oh, we didn't sign this player and we didn't sign that player. We want these signings. Well, they didn't want to be Bulldogs. That's it at the end of the day. They didn't want to be Bulldogs because if they did, that would have been, it would have been a simple case. I want to be a Bulldog, let's get the deal done. And if that's the case, they sign. And that's what happens. All right? So hopefully the players in our squad become Bulldogs. The ones that we want to keep, the players that want to stay, that are doing well for the jersey. Let's hope they, get extended. Players like Toby Sexton. Let's hope he wants to be a Bulldog. If he wants to be a Bulldog, he'll sign. Bronson Cherry wanted to be a Bulldog. Birdo wanted to be a Bulldog. They all extended. Josh Curran, Max King, Jacob Carras, Jacob Preston, they all extended. They want to be Bulldogs. To leave, but we had to let him go because if you don't put the club first, you don't remain a Bulldog. You don't have that privilege. And I like that. I really do like that. That's a good standard to set. I love the Fox and I always will, but when I see him in a Parramatta jersey, I'll be like, ew. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. I gotta go. I can't talk anymore. My throat's killing me. Time for a fucking Sudafed or whatever they call it. Anyway, take care, everyone. Go the dogs, and hopefully chat next week or the week after or whenever I can jump on.